everybody. As James introduced, my name's Katie and I'm an occupational therapist. I'm going to use the clicker. James has already done a really nice introduction to who LifeTec is, but I thought I might just do a nice little refresher because it never hurts to say it again. So we're a social enterprise with an aim to provide information and advice on assistive technology. So we don't sell anything, but with our team of health professionals, we can tell you where you can buy it from, help you kind of look at all the options that are available, and give you a better idea of the piece of equipment that's going to suit your needs the best. There's a few ways that you can get in touch with us. So you can call us, and we've got a 1300 number that you can call. We have 2 display centres, so we have one at Newmarket, so just not too far from here, and another one in Townsville to be able to provide some service to our guys up north. And you can also look at our website as well, and you can find out lots of information on there too. A few of the different services as well, so you're able to come in and see us at our display, or we're able to come out and see you at home as well. Those are free services because we want to be able to tell you what's available and what's going to be the best. If you're really tech savvy, you also have the option of, you can actually call us on Skype, and you can talk to us face-to-face over Skype. So if you've got friends or family that live further afield, that's something that you're definitely able to do as well. On our website, it's quite a nice resource that you can use. It has lots of fact sheets and things about different pieces of equipment, but I would always say that if you're a bit lost, give us a call and we can point you in the right direction. And as James said before, I'm quite passionate about finding ways for people to be able to engage in whatever it is that they want to do. And I think a good way to start this presentation is for you to just stop and think for a minute and have a think about yourselves, think about friends, think about family. Can you think of things that people might have done throughout their life that they can't do now, or they felt like they stopped doing now? And that's anything from walking to preparing a meal for family. And I think recreational equipment is one of those, and recreational activities is one of those things that people stop doing first, because those activities of daily living, the showering and the preparing meals for food, for eating, toileting, those become the priorities. And so some people might drop that knitting that they used to do all the time, or stop embroidering, or stop playing sport because other things get in their way. So I really wanted this presentation to be showing you and letting you think outside the box and just see the range of equipment that is actually available. I'm sure these are all things that you probably know about. So you're likely to see wheelchairs around the tracks, likely to have seen probably a shower chair in your own bathroom potentially, and your walking aids. And this is just the one aspect of AT. There we go. I'll get there eventually. So gardening. I think a lot of us will have, and I think it's an Australian thing, is to have a big garden, and it's somewhere that we like to spend time and energy. And as we get older, hips might get a bit more sore, knees get a bit more sore, hands get a bit more tight. And so there's lots of different things that you can think about. As you're doing some of your futures planning, you might have a think about doing some of your raised garden beds. So these guys. And these are things that you can factor into new designs and those types of things at any point through your life, because let's face it, having a high garden bed is always going to be handy. My veggie patch at home is actually quite high, just so it's easier for me to get into herbs, veggies, but also to keep my Labrador out of the garden patch as well. So this one's actually had some forward thinking to it as well, and you can see that on this right hand side there's actually a cutout, and that would allow a person who uses a wheelchair to get in right nice and close and still use that garden bed. It's also important to think about energy conservation and things like that as well when you're using the garden. That's why I've got some of these garden carts that you can consider using. You can buy these at Bunnings just as a start, and this one's actually from Bunnings because it means that instead of you doing lots and lots of trips potentially over wet grass, over hills, those types of things, by being able to transport everything at once and that one time, that can make things a lot easier, but also allow you to spend that longer time in the garden because you're not as fatigued. There's some really cool little gardening tools as well that you can get. So you can see this one, it's got a bit of a longer handle, and it encourages your hand to be up in a more neutral position, so that instead of having to grip and having weird twisty things happening with your wrists, this just promotes a better position and just keeps your wrists in a position that it should be in. Golf. I think it's one of the activities that kind of is taken up in retirement, and please forgive me if some of you know about this, but I thought it was really cool for my own learnings. There's lots and lots of bits and pieces that can help you to keep going. So some people, they might develop arthritis and have trouble holding on to the actual club. So you can get these really cool gloves that have a strap around it. That can help you to keep your club in your hand, and so that when you swing you're not likely to lose the club, but also just to maintain that grip so that you can keep going. The little aid up in the top left-hand corner is used to help you to pick up or place the golf tee, and so it just attaches onto the end of a golf club, and it's got a little fork on the back that you can use to pick up the tee, but it's also got another little contraption that you use to actually put the tee into the hole, and then you can put your ball onto there as well. So that's pretty cool. And then at the more costly end of the spectrum, you've got the electric golf caddy trolleys and those types of things that can just, again, help to increase or reduce your fatigue with having to pull things along the ground, but I guess that's also when having a people caddy can also help with that type of thing. It's important to also just identify at this point that AT doesn't need to be something that you go to a specialist disability shop to buy. It can be anything that can make things easier, and so that's the golf trolley is a really good example of a piece of commercially available equipment that can make things easier. For those who like to play bowls, I think one of the things that can sometimes happen as you get older is that, and you have more trouble moving, is hips, knees, and not being able to get down into that position that is required for bowls. So the fellow on the left, you can see, has got a piece of equipment called the bowling arm. It's basically a long extension of your arm that allows you to hold on to the ball, and then you move it through the motion, and then it releases the ball. We've actually got one at the table that you can come and have a look at. The really nifty thing about this is that it's approved by Bowls Australia as well, so you can actually use it if you just complete a form, I think, through the local or the state club. The thing on the right is a plastic ferrule, and a ferrule is those things that you see on the bottom of your walking sticks, crutches, those types of things. And so this one has a flat base, which means that you can use it on the bowling green as well without causing problems and making holes in the grass. So that's something just to keep in mind. Fishing. Again, there's some really nifty devices around. The device up in the left-hand corner is a kind of like a fishing harness, and it allows you to have a little trap, a little pipe thing, good terminology, just at the front of you, and that holds the end of the rod. And that just means that you're not having to take the whole weight of it, and it means that when you do get a catch, it's giving you a little bit more support to be able to reel it back in. And you might use that in conjunction with a motorised reel as well, so just to make things a lot easier.
What do you call that?
This thing or the harness? Oh, so that one's just a motorised fishing reel, but I can find out and I can give you that information. Oh, sure. It's just, a lot of them are commercially available now, which is really cool. Like, you can go into fishing shops and say, this is my rod. Is there a motorised reel that can work with this rod? So you can really stick with what works for you already. For those of you who like to do arts and crafts, I think if people with vision impairment especially, and some of the tactile type things, these are some of the things that go by the wayside. And I think as mums, even as dads and those types of things, and you're needing to mend buttons and all those things for yourself, having to ask somebody to do that for you sucks. So if there's a way that there is AT that can help. Let's be honest, seriously. And it's my job to tell you how to make it work, so I'm going to do that. So on your right-hand side, you can see it's an easy needle to thread. So it's actually got a little gap at the top that you pull the thread down instead of having to deal with the eyelet, which is really cool. Love it, need it for myself. But also on the stand, we've got this cool little threader as well, and it's a little machine, and you put the needle in, you thread some thread on one side of it, and it's got a little pokey thing that sticks the thread through the eyelet. So again, super simple ideas, and that one costs about $7, so it's totally worth every cent. On your left-hand side, you can see a really cool mount, which can attach to a table so that somebody can keep doing the embroidery. So if you're having that trouble spinning and holding and threading and those types of things, or you need to have two hands to help with the direction, that's something that you can consider using. And on the bottom left, you've got a tactile tape measure. So it's got a bigger hole at every 5 centimetres, and then a smaller hole for every centimetre in between, so that you can count along and figure out how long you need something to be. There's also auditory and talking tape measures that you can get, so like builder's tapes, and they're really cool too. So playing games, and I think some of you probably have seen some of these devices before. On your left, you've got an example of a card holder. Some of you might also see the long timber with a little slot that kind of looks like a Scrabble stand, and you can get those as well. But the reason I like this example is because the person is still holding their cards like everybody else, and you can still have your one hand to organise, direct, whatever you want to do, and also to hide them away so that nobody can see what your cards are as well. And on the right, we've got a card shuffler as well, so you don't have to worry about the cards flying off to the sides. I think board games are also something that we all like to do. In like rainy days, my partner and I, we commonly play chess on a rainy day, and I don't think that that's something that people should have to stop because of various things. So with the chessboard on the left, I'm just going to go and point out something. So there's little indentations in each square. And you can also see that the black squares are raised up higher than the white square. So it means that somebody who might have a vision impairment can feel where feel the other pieces, but also be able to feel where their pieces can go. And the little indents in there also stop the pieces from falling off the board, which is even cooler. We've also got an example of Connect 4 as well, so we've got one on the table at the back that you can have a look at. You can see that the black pieces have a hole in them. So like if you wanted to play a game with your grandkids, you can still feel where they've put their pieces and then be able to feel where yours can go next as well. And I loved this big print Scrabble. It's just got a larger piece with larger pictures and larger writing so that you're able to read it quite clearly. I was talking to a gentleman before who said he just still plays upwards with his wife every day. And I think these are really important things, and I think some of the presenters earlier have spoken about the importance of mental acuity and doing those things that keep us thinking. So Scrabble's definitely one of those tasks that you can do. And because I'm a massive animal lover, I think I see a lot of animals go into care and for various reasons, and I think there's some really cool pieces of AT that are commonly available that can help you keep looking after your pets for as long as you can. So on your left, extra elongated pooper scooper. So I love it, not having to bend down and crouch down and pick up with the plastic bag. I think it's a fantastic thing. And on the right, we've got a lead that actually attaches around the person's waist. So if you've got a really, really well-behaved dog, it means that you don't have to worry about gripping on to the lead watching the dog. My dog, I could never do this with him because he would just run away from me and pull me over. But if you've got a dog that's really well behaved and you're just having trouble holding onto the lead, this is something that can help you keep them with you when you go on your walks. This is on the left. It's a really cool device that I've just found out about, and it's called the Ifetch. And basically it's a robot. And what the dog learns to do is run over to the Ifetch, drop the ball in the slot, and then it shoots it away. And so, yeah. And so if you're having trouble throwing, or if maybe you can't hold on to the ball as easily anymore, it's a really cool one. And they've actually got the new version on Crowdsurfer at the moment to make a bigger one for bigger dogs that actually throws the ball immediately, and it can deal with the slobber and the dirt and all that good stuff that comes with playing ball with your dog. You've also got, on the simple side of things, you've got the long plastic things with the ball holder in the end, and I think it's important not to negate those as well, because those are really easy ways to keep playing with your dog and keep that relationship happening, and everyone knows how great it is having animals. I have a lot of clients that come in and they'll say, I can't bend down to pick up the pet bowl, the food bowl, the water bowl, those types of things. So there's a whole range of automatic dispensers and stuff that you can get now that are really nifty. And they can dispense the amount of food that you want at the time that you want as well. So even if you've got cats or you go away and you've got quite self-sufficient cats, you can set the time for feeding to be at 6 o'clock or whatever, and it'll dispense the amount of food that they need. And you can get water dispensers as well. And why I quite like this one is it sits up a bit higher off the ground, so you don't have to bend right down to fill it. You can just pull off the lid and pour it from a higher height without having to bend, which I think is really nifty. That was all I had for now. And I just wanted this to be a nice little brief introduction to what's available.